Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucs, powered by Chris Gates Fitness. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Good morning.
Good
You're
morning.
back. You're back. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah. Wait,
It's about time.
we did one before last week, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tyler wasn't on. I was thinking Tyler might be on back to back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we skipped a week. Yeah, I was pretty much out of commission all last week. I did the post game show after Primanti's, and I said, "See you guys later." But yeah, I'm back. Did the post game yesterday with Ryan. Pirates had a victory. Now I'm back here with Starbucks with you to talk about that one victory.
Yeah.
I caught up. I would say I caught up a good bit. You know, it was nice being back in Pittsburgh. With Pittsburgh Sportsnet, I was able to watch the condensed version game. It was nice.
Yeah, no, those condensed games on MLB TV are great.
Yeah.
They're
And it
great.
wasn't like the condensed version like MLB. It was, and again, as I'm alluding to, like I always watch a game live, basically, right? And all week I wasn't able to watch a game live. So I try to make an effort, you know, like at night, like at midnight, it would like replay the game, but like there's no commercials, like where all the commercials are always in MLB and such. So the game, I mean, it's still like the full length game, but it was just all the middle stuff was gone. It was just very nice to watch the game just really go by.
There you go.
So
I don't know if I would have gone back and rewatched some of those games.
yeah, they weren't all pretty, but
No.
But I tried. I'm married to the brand, Jim.
Yeah. I was just happy. I went to 5 games and they didn't lose all 5, so that was good. They won 2 out of the 5, so I'll take that. I'll take it.
I was real nervous that they were about to lose all of them, but the one that we all showed up to, the Rosati curse still exists. That's trash, Jim. You're the reason. Never mind. Anyways, let's move forward. Let's tell everyone about BetOnline real quick, Jim. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind in one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here. So where do we want to start this show at, Jim?
I don't know. We're at we reached the midway point in the season this past week. We are at 83 games for the year. So I think it's a good time to sort of just take a step back, reflect on how that the first half went. And see like what is it that we need to see in the second half that we didn't see in the first half? Or maybe what did we see in the first half that needs to stop or needs to continue, right? So I think that's good place to start.
Let's start with this. This offense needs to find itself. That's for sure. Because honestly, I mean, we see the first half, there are 3 games, like they're 40 and 43 right now, 3 games under 500. If this team is seriously going to have a chance to compete, the offense needs to be there. And I put out the numbers yesterday. Of course, I guess this doesn't include yesterday's numbers, but last year they were a 90 weighted runs created plus team. This year they're an 85. You know, like they're worse offensively than they were last year. And this is the team that's supposed to take the next step, supposed to compete to some degree, some level, right? Ben Cherington had some quotes yesterday. I don't know, everyone loved to dunk on him. And I agree, right? It's one of those things where, like, the problem exists because our team's not performing well. Well, wonder why, right? But, he said something to the sense of, like, the biggest the biggest thing that's going to turn this team around is our players performing better opposed to adding a bat or two. And it's true. I mean, it's legitimate true. If you add a Luis Robert, like that lineup is better, right? We would want that. But you know what makes this lineup even better? Jack Sawinski being an average player, right?
Right.
Rowdy Tellez being what he's doing right now. Oh no, Cruz taking the next step forward again. Bryan Hayes getting at least back to where he has been, which is also not good, right? So many guys are underperforming right now that the guys that are here today, Henry Davis, which we'll talk a little bit more, right? Like they need to perform better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And across the board, you just look at every position, like from an offensive standpoint. Now I'm just going through here. Catcher, the Pirates rank 25th in offense. First base, the Pirates rank 17th. They're about dead average at first base production. Second base, 14th. So kind of right there in the middle. Shortstop, 22nd. Third base, 28th. That's a big piece right there. And then their outfield right now, and this is even with Bryan Reynolds, you're looking at the 27th most productive outfield in baseball from an offensive standpoint. So there's really not a single position group on this team that is you're looking at it and like they're doing really well. There's not a single one. You could say that honestly, the best performing position for the Pirates so far has been first base.
Now, that is sad.
Which is pretty incredible. DH, they're 12th. So their designated hitter is doing well, and their first baseman, that first base group combined, they've been at least completely average this year. Every other position though, across the board, below average.
And that's just again recipe for totally crazy because outside of Jack Sawinski, the person who's been the most hated is Rowdy Tellez, who's the first baseman who's been terrible up to this month. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. The position that he locks down, along with Connor Joe, is like one of the most successful positions on the team.
Yeah. A 100 weighted runs created plus out of the first base position this season.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's he had a really, really good June. Connor Joe has been really good against lefties. So like from a platoon standpoint, you kind of step back at the midway point, and yeah, it took us it was a weird roundabout way of getting here. But you could say that platoon overall, it's working right now. It's not great, right? But it's all we ask for with this offense, with this pitching staff. You really just need the offense to be average. You don't need them to be good.
Right.
So, hey, that first base group, they've been average.
And that was the thing.
This is what you need.
That's kind of what's frustrating. Like with first base, you feel like you can upgrade that to be more than average. But this first base only needed to be average with the way this team was constructed and you hoped for. Right, Jack Sawinski's going to be Jack Sawinski, but he's going to give you 25 home runs, some power, right? He'll have the streakiness. Bryan Reynolds is Bryan Reynolds. Bryan Hayes will, if he's just average, right? O'Neal Cruz coming back, performing better. The way Nick Gonzalez is performing right now, like that's a blessing. You know, Henry Davis is supposed to be better. Like again, like that's what we talk about. Like, you keep going down this lineup, like you only need a first base to just be average. And unfortunately, it is average, and it's the best performing one. You know, like the first week we talked, like, hey, we didn't like Rowdy Tellez, we didn't like the signing, but
yeah,
the platoon's working, right? Because he looked good the first week, and of course that went away real quickly. But as it stands right now with June, yeah, Connor Joe has dipped in his production, and I think we all are very clear. You know, we discussed that he's just overused, overexposed. The way Rowdy Tellez is playing now in June, since Xander, right? Not the dog, not Ryan Xander, but the kid.
Yeah.
Since Xander showed up to his game and said, "Hey, Rowdy, let's go, buddy," he's kicked it up. And you know, his June he's been like the second best hitter, I think, on the team in June.
Yeah,
if not the first. And Like, I'm not ready to anoint anything, but to go like it's working. It's working. And at this point in time, I do think you just kind of sit back and watch and see. I'm not out there hammering like this team has to upgrade first base. Right now, the way it looks, I'm just kind of chilling. We have a whole month until the deadline. Like, you talk about urgency, and if there's an opportunity to make a deal right now for like some outfielder to make this team ready and good, like I'm good with that. I'm ready to do that. But first base, if like that opportunity exists today, I might say, you know what? Let's wait till we're close to the deadline to really fill out how Rowdy is.
No, I think right now, like first base is pretty far down on your list of like needs. Like if you have to go out there and get people, first base is pretty far down on that list. I think outfield, both center field and right field, are the two main priorities. I think and honestly, I think if you just go out there and do that, if you can go out there and get competent play at a center field and right field, the rest of the pieces are there to at least be an average offense. Like, I think you've got to replace, because those two positions have been so bad. Center field has been the Pirates have had the worst offensive production out of center field in Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Out of right field, they're 19th. But it's bad. Like, it's not good. So you upgrade those two positions, and all of a sudden your offense is looking a lot better. You can put Brian Hayes at the bottom of your lineup. You can play your platoon at first base the way you intended it. You don't have to play Connor Joe every day. And you let Bryan Reynolds keep doing his thing. You let Nick Gonzalez keep doing his thing. You let O'Neal Cruz keep getting at bats. Yeah, the catcher spot is probably still the weak point, but you can live with a weak catching position if the rest of your lineup is performing. So yeah, I think right now the two biggest priorities, if you are adding to this team, which again, we don't know if they're going to do yet, it's still pretty early. You're probably not looking at adding anyone right now. Like, you still probably got to wait till after the All-Star break, which is, this team needs to stay afloat until then. But if they're able to do that, you go out there and you find center field, right field. This offense all of a sudden looks average, which is, like, again, with this pitching staff, that's all you need. You need them to be average.
Right, because average doesn't give you one run or less 20 times this season. That's what this offense has done. If you're an average, you might get 2 or 3. And you're sometimes winning games because we've seen this pitching staff, right? Like, Paul Skeens goes out there and he shoves and he gives up one run to the first batter, and then he shuts down the entire team the rest after. And they say, well, that's just too tough we're done. You gave up a run, Paul. What do you want us to do here?
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's the problem, right? This offense becomes too anemic if the top 3 guys are having an off day. Bryan Reynolds, has to wait till his very last at bat, the 5th time around, to get up there to get his hit, to continue the hit streak, right? And Kutch just isn't having a good day that day. Well, you're done. You're done, right? Oh no, Cruz not in the lineup hitting a home run, right? You're done. So if this team can be average, then yeah, they can start sneaking out some more 2-run victories, and that's kind of what they need to do. That's all they need to do. You saw what Bailey Falter did yesterday. He's inconsistent, but like, even with that, he's got an under 4 ERA. Like, he does enough as a 4 starter, to keep you in ball games, and enough ball games.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not talking about the big 3 yet. What Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, and Mitch Keller do day in and day out, right? The way Luis Ortiz is coming along, is he going to enter the rotation now? Start giving some guys some breathers here, right? Quinn Priest is going to come back. I mean, there's like some depth there, but like, this rotation has enough to compete with just an average offense like you're talking about.
Yeah.
So they desperately need to do something. And like you said, it's going to be tough because it's 2 issues right now. It's the fact that, yes, like, we talk about urgency, and the fact that, like, if there's an offer on the deal right now, the Pirates have to be involved because they can't afford to wait. They need to be able to stay in the mix to be able to compete at the deadline to make those moves, and like they're just not. Like there's not.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say like there's not in the sense of it's a pure 0% chance, right? But there's really not going to be a deal to be made now until you get closer to the deadline. So this team has
Right.
to find a way to stay afloat to even be in the mix to say, hey, we need to buy instead of selling, because that's what stinks right now. We talk about, must wins and it's so early, but like every game almost feels like a must win because this team is one step in right now of being a contender and also one step out of being a seller because of how jumbled up it is.
Well, I mean, you just look at this week, right? Like this is a big week for the Pirates. They've got 3 games against the Cardinals, who are currently 3 games up on the Pirates in the standings and holding on to that last wild card position. And then you've got a 4-game series against the Mets, who are on fire, and they're a game ahead of you now. So you've
Both
got
teams are on fire, by the way, too.
Yeah. So we talked about like there's those 9 teams. We keep talking about the 9 teams that are competing for these 2 spots, and how you need to be better than those teams. And so far the Pirates have just been they've been playing 500 baseball, I feel like, for 3 weeks, where they'll win a series, they'll take 2 out of 3, and then they'll drop 2 out of 3, they'll take 2 out of 3, then they'll drop 2 out of 3. So it's keeping them like in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
But now you look at the 9 teams, and the Pirates are kind of there are teams that are starting to separate themselves. The Cardinals, the Padres. So like when you face these teams, you've got to win. Like this is a week where 3-3 doesn't really do you any good. Like it allows you to kind of stay in it, but like they need to go 4-2 this week probably to at least stay in this thing, because they're still they're 3 games under 500. They're on a 77 win pace, 3 games out of a playoff spot, and they're still just jumbled up there with a lot of teams. And again, you're starting to see some teams kind of separate themselves. San Diego, St. Louis, New York, they're all playing good baseball.
Right.
You've got to get on their level. You can't just keep treading water this whole time, because you're not going to make the wild card at 81 and 81. You're not going to make the wild card at 79 and 83. You're going to have to win 85 games. I think 85 games gets you there. So how are we going to go out there and win 85 games? You got to win some series. You got to start stacking wins. And June was a good start. They at least won more games in June than they lost.
Right.
They need to keep doing that.
Yeah, but you're right. Like there is some encouraging things right now. But you talked about those 2 series, but after that's Milwaukee even. To go into next year before the All-Star break. Like then it's Milwaukee, your division leader, who's looking tough. So like the next 3 series are tough. We talked about the strength of the schedule heading into the trade deadline a few weeks back, and it was favorable. But like you're saying, like those teams are starting to pick it up now. So there's teams that were, they're kind of middle of the pack. The Pirates could win this one. Now it's the Cardinals, who like I said are hot, and also they're 7-3 the last 10. Then it's the Mets, like you mentioned, are 6-4. They lost 2, but they've been hot in June as well. And Milwaukee. So like the teams that you're also looking at, like, you know what, the Pirates can win now, are like, okay, this is gonna be kind of tougher now. And that's heading into also, and then of course, yes, they do get the White Sox. So there's one break of an easier team before the All-Star break. But like if you go in the All-Star break and you're under 500 from today going into it, then because those teams are above you currently. So like if you don't beat the Mets, then they're higher up on the standings than you are, right? If you don't beat the Cardinals, they're higher up on the standings than you are. Like you boosted them. These are teams that you have to defeat. And as it stands right now, like San Diego and St. Louis are in. The Mets are 2 games back to the 3rd wild card, and then back of that's Arizona 2.5, San Fran 3, Pirates 3. So like you said, like they're in the mix for sure, but they're playing all the teams that are in the mix right now with them. So again, like that's why it's so big. We talk about how the in-division games count as like almost double, but you can kind of look at these games like the same. Like it's just think of like one big division right now. These games matter.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. These are very important games. If you want to finish above the Cardinals and the Mets, you've got to beat the Cardinals and the Mets when you
Mhm.
play them. So yeah, it's a big week of baseball coming up. This is you have an opportunity here to make some noise. You have an opportunity here. You know, the Mets and Cardinals also have an opportunity here, you know, to kind of beat down someone who's behind them and chasing them. So it's gonna be an interesting week of baseball because yeah, these games have a pretty significant impact on the way this wild card shaking out right now.
For sure. I guess just real quick, just as like a set of news too, because we didn't really talk about him, but Henry Davis apparently had a setback in his rehab. So we're talking about positions and such. Joey Bart's back, so that's good news. But also at the same point in time, Henry Davis had a setback in his rehab. Not so good news. Um, yeah, I guess just quick thoughts, maybe.
Yeah, it's not good. Sounds like I mean he was in Altoona on rehab for his concussion. The reports that I got from Friday were that like he looked awful. So I don't know if something happened Friday where after the game they reassessed him and he wasn't he had a still showing symptoms or whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah,
his rehab has now been shut down. So who knows how long that could be? Head injuries are always just weird. Like everyone's head is different. Concussions play out different for everybody depending on the severity. So it sucks to see him kind of go back out on the field, play 2 games, clearly not be right, and now being shut down again. So yeah, definitely not great because you gotta imagine we're now still pretty far away from seeing Henry Davis back. You know, if he hasn't
right.
started, like if they're shutting him down, like they're gonna be shutting him down for a bit. And yeah, the catcher position, it's just they could use some help there. Joey Bart being back, I think is a good step, but I would really, really enjoy, not having to see Yasmani Grandal back there.
Agree.
I mean, it's just they need to be better than what he's providing the team. So
Agree.
I don't know if Henry Davis can be that guy, but I mean, he's someone that you rely on. When we came into this year, we mentioned that Henry Davis was one of the most significant pieces of this team's success in 2024. And you've seen how him not being good has affected this team up to this point. Him not being good, Jack Swinski not being good, those two really have deeply impacted this team's ability to win games.
Yep, agree. I know we're worried about the production and he's a bust or not, right? This worries me. I'm not worried about that sense, but this kind of worries me because yeah, concussions are no joke, and you just never know how much and how long they'll linger and how guys can recover. Because this is a good example. Like they thought he was fine, obviously, and he goes out there and he wasn't. And then this might explain why he was 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts. Clearly, the concussion is still lingering. So yeah, like getting him healthy is the biggest concern right now. And with concussions, like you just never know how long that is.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, it's a wait and see till he's even healthy. And then it's getting him back on the rehab and getting him right. And then getting him to the major leagues and hoping he starts performing.
Yep.
So yeah, like that's big news to me. That's big news. So at this point, we're just in a wait and see till he is healthy.
Yeah. I mean, luckily they do have a little bit of depth, like being able to have delay there is good. And in case of an emergency situation, you need another guy. He's pretty good for that type of player.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, right now we could go into that and just say, hey, I'd rather have delay and Bart right now and just cut ties with Grandal. But I also see the value of having some depth at that position. So I'm okay with Grandal still being here. I think as soon as Davis would have been healthy, like that's when I cut ties with Grandal. But
Yeah.
like right now, you kind of need Grandal still.
Yep. I feel
You just
like
need the body.
this is big and why Grundle is still here. So I
Mhm.
kind of felt the same way. Like just cut ties with Grundle, keep Jason Delay, but with his news, makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's get to Murphy. We're going to talk about some prospects.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Before we bring him on, this show this week and every week, it's sponsored by Chris Gates Fitness. Chris is an online fitness coach from Pittsburgh, huge Pittsburgh sports fan and friend of the show. Chris works with people all over town, all over the world to chase their fitness goals, whether it be to lose body fat, build muscle, or do both while improving your overall health and wellness. Chris helps people find a sustainable approach with diet and exercise to make progress that sticks. I've been working for him for almost 2 years now, and he does a great job of keeping me accountable. Been making a lot of progress. So he does share a ton of information for free on his social media accounts every single day. So if you're looking for tips, tricks, and strategies to use with your diet and exercise, make sure you give him a follow. Just search for Chris Gates Fitness on literally any social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, whatever it is, you'll find him. And I was teasing kind of a new program that he's got coming out soon, and I can let you know that it's coming July 22nd. July 22nd, he's making a huge announcement. So make sure you're following him on his social media pages, because some big news.
I hate you both. I don't know who's gonna be more tuned in, anyone or me. It's me. it's me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to follow him. July 22nd is the date. Start the
There it
countdown.
is. Well, at any rate, go check out Chris. But right now we have Anthony from Bucs On Deck, Substack. Bucs On Deck, Substack. Yeah, welcome back, Anthony. Bright and early. Happy to see you here. Let's talk some Pirates prospects. How you doing?
Doing good. Another great morning. How you guys doing this morning?
Lovely.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Talking some baseball.
Always good time.
It is. It was an interesting week in the minor league system too. I was paying a lot of attention. A lot of good stuff seems to be happening down there.
Yeah. There's some stuff going. It was a weird week because we talk about, like, the Pirates waited until the midseason point to call up McAdoo, and you kind of figure they call up McAdoo and then like a pitcher that was doing real well, and you kind of think maybe Greensboro would start struggling. Greensboro went 5-1 against a really good team last week, and then Altoona went 1-5. So kind of the opposite of what we kind of expected. But
yeah,
I mean,
sounds like Altoona could still use some help.
Yeah.
All right, so let's I guess let's kind of get into it. I mean, there were some promotions. So I mean, you mentioned like Charles McAdoo being promoted to Altoona. But yeah, let's kind of dive in here. 2 hitters, 2 pitchers. Who do we got? Who we got this week?
We'll start on the pitching side, and I guess it's another week, and it's another little Bubba Chandler conversation that needs to be had there, because he's just on another level right now. And I talked about it over the weekend on the site. It's like, obviously now Paul Skeens graduates. He's not technically a prospect anymore. I think it's pretty easy to say that Bubba Chandler's the top prospect left in the Pirates system at this point. I kind of put it a little bit further. It's like, what is his ceiling? Just like, like the Orioles have had like the last couple top hitting prospects or top prospects overall. I feel like there's a point by the end of the season that I think Bubba might be in that conversation to be the best pitching prospect in all of baseball with the way he's going. And I kind of looked at the names ahead of him on Baseball America. There's quite a bit of names there, but there's a lot of names there that's like, okay, well, these guys they're okay, but they're kind of like high floor guys, and they're there because they're more safe picks. So like Bubba can easily pass those guys. You have another guy, a couple guys that's been hurt, another couple that probably will graduate. I think he continues his pace. It's very easy to put a scenario out there to where he's the top pitching prospect, if not at like the end of the season, going into next year, maybe.
Yeah. Especially like, I mean, if you're just looking like right-handed pitchers too, right? He's been so impressive. It's kind of cool to just see his development, because he came into the system so raw. You saw him struggle, especially with his command, through the lower levels. he's gotten to Double-A pretty quick for someone as raw as he has. He's moved through the system at a very quick pace, and yeah, his last few starts ever since coming off the IL, really, like he hit the IL for a bit there in Altoona, came off, and he's been incredible since then. 11 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings last week against Akron. So just dominating lineups. The game before that, he went 7 scoreless with 10 strikeouts.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine he stays in Altoona, but like he's looking really good.
I will say this. They moved Jared Jones up pretty quick last year to AAA. And without trying to like put down Jared Jones at the expense of Bubba Chandler, I don't think Jared Jones ever looked this good in Altoona.
Right.
And he had his moments, and like if I remember correctly, he was dealing with a little bit of a nagging injury while he was in Altoona, so like maybe that kind of limited his output. But what we're seeing from Bubba is, and we see what Jared Jones is doing in the majors right now. Like I don't think there was ever a stretch, and I watched the first ever professional pitch from Jared Jones. I've kind of been following him along from I don't think I've ever seen a streak or a stretch from Jared Jones that I've seen what we're seeing from Bubba Chandler right now. Like just the fastball is just elite level stuff. It's perfect shape that you want to see for the guys who like shape, upper 90s. The changeup is probably up like right there up with it, maybe just as good as his fastball. The slider, the breaking ball, the curveball, that's all coming along and stuff like that. Just this month alone, he and like you mentioned, like the command and control, he's only walked 3 people in 25 innings in June, and then struck out 35. So it's just all kind of coming together, and I mean he's 21, so like you could make a very easy argument that just let him pitch in Double-A the whole year. You could also make like an argument at this point, like I mean they pushed Jared Jones up for a lot less and a lot like he was already in AAA pretty much by now. Jones. So you could also make a case that like, okay, well, there isn't much here that Bubba can do in Double-A that he can't just do in AAA now too.
Right. Yeah, it's been impressive to see him. That's for sure. And yeah, I mean it's a good comparison. Like Jared Jones made 10 starts in Double-A, and then got bumped up. Now his results were better than Bubba Chandler's. Like I feel like Jared Jones never got hit hard. He never really struggled in Double-A at all. Yeah. Bubba did struggle a little bit there at times early on in the year, but lately there's no struggling. Like he's just dominating these guys.
No.
Yeah. And I feel like too, like when you look at Bubba Chandler, like you see the overall number, like the 4.17 ERA, and that's not exciting, like this is Bubba Chandler because you're talking about the guy who might be the best pitcher, as far as minor leaguers go, prospects. But like, kind of look at his numbers here. We talk about the injury before he went to IL. He had those back-to-back starts where he gave up 5 earned and 4 earned, right, in a total of 4.1 innings. That just like totally wrecked his ERA in that sense because you look at that he's never given up more than 2 earned runs in a start outside of his June 13th start. Yeah. Every start outside of that has been 2 runs or less. And you talk about the walks too. Like his control has been even better. He like his first 4 starts, he walked 2 batters each time, which is fine. Like that's fine. But like since then, it's only 1 or less walks outside of those 2 back-to-back starts before the injury too. It's like 1 batter's walking, 0 guys. Like it's becoming impressive. Like the total stat line doesn't do him justice.
No, and I think another thing to remember too, and this is something that I've mentioned probably on like I said, I don't like putting people down for the sake of like lifting others up, and this has been a whole like there's a Baseball America article about it too that like it feels like defense is like way down across the minors and stuff like right now, and I think a lot of the pitchers in the system are getting punished in a sense for the fact that the defense hasn't been up to par as to what maybe you would expect, and that's led to some like inflated ERA numbers and stuff like that. And I know like someone like Thomas Harrington, he suffered from that a little bit in a couple of the games that have looked a little bit rough. Like he was like a pitch or two from getting out of it. It was kind of like a routine grounder or something like that, and it wasn't made, but it still wasn't enough to be charged in error. So like when you look at the stat sheet, is it looks like it was on the pitcher, but like whenever you open up the video and look back at the game, it like that play should have definitely been made, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely exciting to see Bubba. Who else we got? What else we got pitching wise?
Another guy who's kind of bounced back the last couple of games. And Greensboro was fun this week because not a lot of the streams have like a velocity reading. So we were actually able to see how hard some of these guys were throwing. And I think the guy that we were the most interested in seeing what the velocity looked like was Hunter Barco, because he only averaged like 90 in Bradenton last year. He went to the spring breakout, was hitting 94, 95. And we're like, okay, was that because it was only one inning? Was he amped up because of the situation? Was he going to drop back down once he's throwing more pitches? He only threw 58. He threw 5 no-hit innings, 9 strikeouts in a start. But I think the most impressive thing was he was 94, 95. He was 93, 94 the entire game, getting up to 95. He hit 95 in the last inning he pitched. So that kind of – so like before then, he, even going into this year, he was still an interesting pitcher because of the slider and the changeup and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now the fastball kind of takes him to like a whole new level. And if he's maintaining that velocity deeper into the games, that kind of just elevates him to like a new level of like prospect status at that point.
Right.
He's a lot more intriguing with that velocity than just 90.
Yeah. He's been really good. 15 games so far for Greensboro, and like some of them, like he came out of the bullpen for a couple of them, but it's been 7 outings where he hasn't given up a run. In this last start, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk in 5 innings. Like you mentioned, just 58 pitches, 59 pitches. Like that's when like, it's unfair. Like he's dominating these hitters. He is 23. In my opinion, I think Hunter Barco has shown everything he needs to in Greensboro. I would be aggressive with him. Like he pitched in the SEC. Just get him in the AA already. But what's interesting about all these pitchers, I feel like every single one of these starting pitchers that they've picked, especially these college guys too, but they're all just coming around. They're all coming around. They all look good. And as a fan of the major league team, right? The one thing it makes me very confident and comfortable trading these guys. Like I feel like right now the Pirates have figured out pitching development. Like they've whatever it is, like they've figured it out. Every single one of these guys that they're picking is pitching well. So as a fan, it's like, you know what, we can afford to give up some arms because we've got plenty of them, and we've clearly got something figured out where we can get the best out of these guys, and just next year's draft we'll just replace them. Like I think that's where I'm at right now. Like they've got all these arms, and Bubba Chandler was one where I was like, you know what, I would give him up for like a stud. I may Bubba Chandler may have been just reached that untouchable list for me this past week. He's ridiculously good. But yeah, it's really cool to see these pitchers succeed just across the board, top to bottom, from all levels of this organization. And it gives you confidence to say, you know what, I can move on from Hunter Barco. I can move on from Braxton Ashcraft, because there's other people doing the exact same thing. That's kind of my 2 cents on it.
No, yeah. I think that's, I mean, a lefty who could throw mid-90s and stuff like that, that's going to have a lot of value and stuff like that. They've been kind of taking it easy with him the last couple of weeks and stuff like that. This is his first full year back from from like Tommy John. So I think that was why, because like the pitch limit and stuff like that, they're getting ready to go to the All-Star break. Pirates have had quite a few pitchers end up on the injured list over the last couple of weeks. Like half of Bradenton's rotations like on the injured list right now. Right. So they're kind of getting hit hard now, which to an extent almost feels like maybe that could be why they've been a little bit slow with some of the promotions. You know, they can't really move Barco up right now because they don't have anyone in Greens. They don't have enough arms in Bradenton right now to slide up and take his spot if they move him. Mm-hmm. So, and also too, like you keep padding stats and stuff like that. Maybe that looks a little bit better in a potential trade as opposed to maybe moving him up to AA and maybe he starts getting beat up a little bit. So,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, it's been a really cool development to see these pitchers pitch well. Mm-hmm. Like I said, everybody that you like hope to see take steps forward is doing it. Like it's just pretty cool. All right, so pitchers, Barco, Chandler. Let's talk about the hitters. What do we got on the offensive side?
Well, I got one guy who I know we're all going to get excited about when I bring him up, and that's Mitch Jebb. Had a pretty good week last night. He went 9 for 17, scored 11 runs, and then walked 6 times with stolen base, and that was just all in 1 week. So he's finally starting to get on base a little bit, starting to like kind of do his thing. Scored 11 times. Greensboro, like I mentioned earlier, they went 5-1. They scored a lot of runs that weekend, and he was on base a lot for a lot of it. So really good. Really solid week for him. I mean, he's had an okay June. Like he's finally June he had a 105 WRC plus, so finally a little bit above average kind of thing. The numbers, like if you kind of stack them month by month and stuff like that, they are starting to look a little bit better. It looks like he's starting to get to his game a little bit more. Maybe there was a little bit added, like, okay, well, I'm in Greensboro. Let me try to take advantage of being in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Swings early on, and that was leading to a lot of swing and miss and stuff like that. But it's still a little bit hard to get excited for him. Just because of like the lack of power and stuff like that. But we're starting to see maybe what they wanted, what they were excited about in him when they drafted him. You know, get on base, use the speed, and score a bunch of runs because you turned a single or a walk into a double by stealing second or even stealing third at times kind of thing.
Yeah, you can tell he's definitely getting on base. He's hitting. I mean, they're all singles. That's like he's just hitting singles, but he's getting on base. He's scoring runs. He walked a bunch this past week too. So yeah, it was a productive week for him. You still hope to see something because like if you're a slap hitting, like if all you're gonna do is hit singles, then you better hit a ton of singles. You know, like. He hit 253 for the month of June with 17 singles and 20 hits, right? 2 doubles, 1 triple. So it's still like, yeah, it's technically fine, but like he needs to be. If all you're gonna do is hit singles, then you got to hit 330 in Greensboro.
Yeah,
and he's not doing that.
No,
did last week.
Yeah, he had a really good week, and like I said, Greensboro. They need, and I feel like I'll keep saying it with it. I feel like he's done fine at second base, but really, if they want to just get more value out of him, like he just needs to be in the outfield. Like Brannigan was hurt a little bit, so they've kind of forced him to have Tamara and Jebb split time at shortstop, and neither of them are shortstops, and he's barely a second baseman and stuff like that. I think you can salvage some value out of it by throwing him in center because he is fast. He does have plus speed. So
I think eventually that's where he. Yeah, I think eventually that's probably his best landing spot, and you just hope that he hits enough. Really. So.
Yeah.
All right, so Mitch Jeb, who's like my least favorite draft pick ever. So
I
thanks
know
for
that's why when I was going
thanks
through
for
last
making
week,
me
I was like, "Oh, this
spend
will be fun."
5 minutes talking about him. But yeah, all right. Who else? Who else we got?
All right, so we're gonna go all the way down to the complex.
All
For a
right.
guy who I've been very impressed with, just because maybe I kind of set my expectations so low on him that maybe it was easy to kind of come up. But Tony Blanco's look pretty good this year, better than I expect. Because the big thing was like he like set a record or something like that for like exit velocity numbers down there in the Dominican last year. But his like whiff rate was like they were talking like his hit tool was barely going to be like a 30 or something like that coming stateside. So like you hear that and then he comes up and then you kind of get in your head, okay, well, if someone can throw a breaking ball in the strike zone, like he's probably just going to not have any idea what to do with it.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be looking at. And from what I've seen from him, he has some of his hardest hit balls against breaking balls this year. Like he had a stretch earlier this week. He had a foul ball that went 121 miles an hour off the bat.
Which for those wondering, like that's absolutely insane for the complex league. Like people on that level don't hit the ball that hard.
No.
You almost wonder if that's even accurate.
It made me question it too at first.
Yeah.
It was foul ball 121. I think it was 2 pitches later. It was another breaking ball. He hit 112 for a home run.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, I have it up here. I was going to say it. Yeah.
The power is every bit of what they were saying, and he's hitting stuff that I didn't expect him to hit coming into it. What is it? He had 6 hits last week, I think, in only like 4 games played, a double home run, a couple RBIs. I mean, you still see the swing and miss here and there and stuff like that. Right. It does look like the main thing that it looks like he's having issues with is like if a pitcher can go out there and sequence their pitches right and stuff like that, he gets a little lost in that, and like he gets caught guessing sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he just turned 19, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but he's a giant human. Like he hits the ball really hard, and just fun to see when he runs into one. Just like there's that excitement. It's like, okay, well, how hard did he hit this one, kind of stuff. And,
right.
Yeah,
it's refreshing to see. It's refreshing to see because like you, I think my expectations were also very low for Blanco. I mean, 37.6% strikeout rate in the DSL last year. So coming stateside, it was like that's probably not going to get better, but it has. Like he's still striking out a lot. Like it's not that he's not a contact hitter by any means. No. Like he's going to take his swing. He's going to get his swings and misses. But yeah, it has been encouraged. Like he's taken a pretty giant step forward from the DSL to the complex league, and yeah, I'm curious to see how he can kind of just progress through the system. I always get you never know with levels this low. Like we've seen players just dominate the complex league or dominate the DSL, and then once you get into low A ball, it just things fall apart. So I want to see him like on the Marauders and see what can happen. Yeah. And I guess with the complex league ending here in about a month or so, is he someone you think they push like that, or you think that after the complex they'll be like, you know what, this was a good step? Yeah,
I think I guess there's a chance with it. They have some other guys there that are like moving around at first base and stuff like that right now in Bradenton that I probably wouldn't expect to get moved up to Greensboro. So, excuse me. They got like Axial Plaz. He's kind of splitting time at first. Eddie Rodriguez, Valdez when he comes back. They've all kind of been splitting time at first base and stuff like that. So, and I don't expect any of them to get to Greensboro by the end of the year. So, you can always kind of, okay, man, good job. Because I'm sure there'll be some backfield scrimmaging and stuff like that going on throughout I don't see anything wrong with just like keeping them there and stuff like that. Maybe by the end of the year, maybe you do give them like the last week or something like that. Be like, here, go ahead, get your feet wet. You're going to be here next year.
Right.
But that kind of stuff was probably a lot easier to predict last year than it is this year, just because it's the first year where everything's moved up and stuff like that. So
yeah,
we'll kind of see. Hitters probably more likely to move up than the pitchers at this point.
Yeah. Cool.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, Murphy,
can I sneak one thing in real quick?
There you
Just
go.
real quick.
Yeah.
Charles McAdoo.
Yeah. Charles McAdoo.
We don't have to go a long discussion. It's small samples, only 8 games, but like this was the moment we've been waiting for, right? We're not going to trust it. We're not going to trust it. Let's wait till AA. My guy has made an impression. He's now in AA. In the 8 games, he has 8 hits and 6 for extra bases. Kid, I only want this take. Can we officially be excited about Charles McAdoo?
I mean, if you're a fan, you can always be excited for it. If you want me to damper on things, like I'm gonna damper things and then I'm gonna bring it back up. He did strike out 7 times last week. There were some times to where like he was taking some pretty bad swings there, but he also drew 7 walks. So like, okay, he struck out a bunch, but he was also drawing a lot of, So yeah, I mean he's clearly the best performing hitting prospect in the system right now. I don't think there is any question to that at this point. I think if you still want to be caution with it, like I'm pretty sure Matt Frazier and Matt Gorski, they had fairly okay stints in AA coming off of what they did in Greensboro. So maybe, but
way to put a damper on everything, comparing him to Matt Frazier and Matt Gorski.
That's what I do, right?
Let's get him off the show now. I'm done with you.
That's right. I'd probably do that too.
What's Nola Jeffy up these days? We'll get him on next week instead.
I'm surprised he's on different time than us. I can't
ousted.
believe he's up this early for this.
Yeah, he always gets up early for this stuff in Central Time Zone. But
all right. Well, I wanted your check-in on him because what a debut.
Yeah, it was a good first week and a half in AA for him for sure.
Definitely be excited, but I'd definitely be excited about it. And you want to see the kind of struggles too with like the strikeouts and stuff like that, because you want to see how he responds to those kind of struggles at a higher level and stuff like that. You could say he probably wasn't pushed that way in high A. So if he's striking out this much and he's still making the adjustments and he's still sticking to his game, even with the strikeouts to draw walk, he doesn't start pressing and over swinging, and that leads to a bigger hole and stuff like that. So he's sticking to his game, and it's working for him. So
yeah,
good stuff.
So all those people who were saying, just call him up. He can't be any worse than Sawinski.
I mean,
pump the brakes a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, it might be correct though.
It might be
correct. It doesn't make it the right decision.
Yeah. Just because they do something like that doesn't mean it's the right call.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you, Murphy. Again, Bucs On Deck Substack. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't yet. Your podcast comes out on Tuesday, so if you want to go more in depth on the system, Bucs On Deck podcast every Tuesday with Murphy and Nola. It's a really, really good listen, so I recommend it. But yeah, really definitely appreciate everything. And then Twitter too, @_Murph88.
Murphy 88. Yep.
Murphy 88. All right, there we go. So,
yep.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on this morning, man.
Of course, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. See ya. All right.
I just wanted him to say it's official, but whatever. I don't know though. I'll mix it up.
He's always going to be a little cautious. It's always going to be a little cautious.
I know.
He's not realistic. Like we like to speak in hyperbole a lot. Murphy's not like that.
Yeah.
Like whenever you want to say Charles McAdoo's the best hitter to ever come through this system.
We talked last night. Yeah. He's Brian Juan Soto.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, look at his slash. 286, 444, slugging 750. He's Juan Soto. Like he should be up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll say DW here. I want to see no strikeouts from McAdoo. Yep.
Right.
All right.
But
let's do we want to just wrap things up with a quick series preview here?
Yep. Pirates will be facing the Cardinals, as we mentioned. The 4th of July series. There's that. What's kind of cool is on 4th of July, it's a day game. So many of us get to enjoy the game and then see fireworks. Where I felt like last year, it was during the fireworks. So maybe we'll speak more from ourselves that we don't have to do a post game while fireworks are going off. We can enjoy our 4th of July a little bit more. But yeah, 4th of July series, big one against the Cardinals. And as we alluded to earlier, the Cardinals are coming in hot. They're playing well. This is a team that the Pirates need to defeat, right? Like they have to be better than the Cardinals, more or less, going forward if they want to really contend for a wild card spot. So it's a big week for the Pirates and a big series for them. Where do you want to start, the hitting or pitching side?
Let's start with the pitching. I don't think the Pirates have necessarily announced their rotation yet. But it does look like, I mean, Jared Jones hasn't pitched in a while. So like he kind of got his spot.
Yeah, I'm looking at Keller, Jones, and Perez.
Keller, Jones, Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keller, Jones, Perez. Yep, that's what Pirates.com has. So, okay. So, yeah, we're looking at that. That's nice. You got Keller and Jones both going. Keller against Kyle Gibson, Jones against Miles Michaelis, and Martin Perez against Andre Payante, which I don't know if how much we've seen of him, but I mean, anytime you got Keller and Jones going, that's what's nice about this rotation, right? Like you can set yourself up pretty nicely for a 3-game series if you've got 2 of those guys going. So you have to feel good when Mitch Keller's on the mound, right? Like it's against Kyle Gibson, who's having himself a pretty good year.
It's a Kyle Gibson year.
Yeah, but like Mitch Keller's he's been better, right? Miles Michaelis is having an atrocious season. So you kind of feel good about that. And you never really know Andre Payante, Martin Perez, like anything could happen in that game. But yeah, it is a huge series. The Cardinals are 3 games up on the Pirates right now in the standings. So you have an opportunity here to either catch them with a sweep. You have an opportunity here to be pummeled if you get swept, right? I mean, we don't.
Oh yeah.
If the Pirates get swept, all of a sudden they're 6 back of the Cardinals, right? So yeah, it's a really big series. Like you can't get swept, or your playoff odds are going to take a huge hit. You got to figure out a way to win this one because, like I said, we've said it over and over and over again. You've got to beat these teams that you're lumped together with. Like right now, for the remainder of the year, I think the NL Central is out of like it's not happening. So yeah, you like put yourself in a mini division, like make your own division here with these 9 teams that are hunting for these 2 wild card spots, and you got to finish top 2. And the Cardinals are sitting near the top of that list.
Absolutely. And like you said, talked about with the pitching, this is why this you just need an average lineup because you go into a series most likely with 2 of 3. In this one, it's Mitch Keller and Jared Jones. And you look at the matchups and you say, like, this team could easily win 2 of these games just because of the pitching alone, right? And the matchups that come with it. Kyle Gibson is having a solid season, right? He's doing what Kyle Gibson does. But Mitch Keller has been on fire. And he's going to go out there and give you 6 innings and 1, 2, 3 earned runs, right? So if this offense can just do enough to allow them to win, he can shut down this, Cardinals offense, which is actually producing also, by the way. But I want to say about Jared Jones, this is also Jared Jones skips the start. So I'm also interested in how Jared Jones looks in this game. This is something that the Pirates are going to have to do. They're going to have to manage innings. Jared Jones, Paul Skeens, like even Bailey Falter, we talked to a degree, yesterday with Ryan. They're going to have to manage innings. They've discussed this more at length a little bit, right? Like they are for sure planning on having them out here to the end of the season, right? That is the goal. They are going to be pitching through September, hopefully into October. So that way they can have, if they're going to be a playoff run, they're going to have them on the team. So they're going to have to get creative. And one ways they did it was they skipped Jared Jones' last start. So he hasn't pitched since June 22nd, I think it was. So like, I'm also wondering and curious how he's going to respond, how he's going to be, how effective. Is there any rust? Is he coming out smoking 1,300-mile-an-hour fastballs like he did that one outing? But yeah, like he's going to come into this game fresh.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a week and a half basically since he's pitched. So you never know how that's going to impact you. He can come out there throwing the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour, feeling great, or he could just, kind of lose the feel that he had. It takes a while to kind of figure out the mound and all that stuff. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, but it is going to be nice to see him back on the mound because it has been a while since we've seen Jared Jones, and
right.
This probably isn't going to be the first time we see them skip a turn through the rotation with him.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like how he responds, it makes me curious of how they'll continue. If he looks great, then great decision. Let's keep doing that. That's how we'll do it. If he looks terrible, then it's gonna be like, oh boy.
Yeah. But no, I mean they dropped 2 out of 3 the last time they played the Cardinals in St. Louis a couple weeks ago. Miles Michaelis gave up 1 hit in his 7 innings, so like they really need to get to Michaelis, that's for sure. But yeah, you want to see Keller Jones do their thing. You want to see Martin Perez get back on track too, because that wasn't a great outing his first time back off the IL. And you're gonna need him. You're gonna need him to make some starts and throw some innings here down the stretch. So they need to be effective, somewhat effective.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like when you look at the Cardinal side offensively too, like we're talking about the pitching, how good it is, but again, like their offense has been pretty legit. Brendan Donovan, a 134 weighted runs created plus in June. Alec Burleson, a 131. Brandon Crawford actually getting the mix a little bit here in 8 games. But like Nolan Arenado, Matt Carpenter, like Arenado was kind of struggling. Goldschmidt was like on fire the time we played them last time. Not so much now, but like the offense is still pretty legit. And like look at the power department, they're hitting some home runs here. Yeah, like again, I'm not nervous about this. It's a decent offense, but again, with Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, and even Martin Perez, I hope, like you said, he does respond, have a good bounce back. But he's very instrumental in this team's success early on when he was healthy. Again, I think we kind of forget about how good Martin Perez was. He at one point is he the glue to this rotation? Again, Mitch Keller reclaimed that, but Martin Perez was the guy that was like, hey, you know what? He's the stopper. He's doing every bit that you need to keep this rotation in, performing and such. So him coming back, maybe got the rust off last start, could play big, especially because he's going to be part of this saving innings on all these other guys.
Yeah. I'm going to disagree a little bit with you on this Cardinals offense. I think they suck. Like, I think this team's terrible. They actually have less runs scored than the Pirates at this point in the season. So like, if we're going to talk about how bad the Pirates are, like the Cardinals are right there, just as bad. They've been relying on their pitching staff. They've been relying on their bullpen. Their bullpen's been pretty good between Helsley, Kittredge, Romero, Fernand. Like they've got some guys that they run out there when they got a lead. They've kind of followed that same, 7th, 8th, 9th mold that Holderman, Chapman, Bednar have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they get a lead late in a game, it's they usually hold it. So you really want to get to these starters, and luckily, like they're facing some so starters. But yeah, you got to get to this. You got to get to this starting rotation. I'm not too concerned about this Cardinals offense, but yeah, you want to get a lead against these guys. You don't want to fall behind.
No, fair. All I'm alluding to is, they are 18th best offense in June. That's quite better than the Pirates offense.
Yeah.
But again, like it's a good enough. It's not one to like. If we were a Cardinals podcast previewing the series, we would be saying, well, this offense is pathetic for the Pirates. So all we need to do is score 1 or 2 runs on this good pitching. And I'm saying we have the good pitching here for the Pirates side, but It's an average offense. It's not a pushover. And there's some guys that are definitely performing right now. So again, it is on the Pirates offense really to come out there and perform, because you can't have these. I know he's not pitching, but you can't have the Paul Skeens 1-run dominant outing and you still lose because you just can't find a way to score 2 runs.
Yep. And that was their problem last time facing the Cardinals, was off scoring runs. Like Tuesday, they scored on the first game of the series. They scored 2 runs. They won 2-1, but then they lost 4-2, 4-3. So 7 runs scored in their last series against the Cardinals. That's just not you're not going to win games doing that. You gotta put up more runs.
And they're coming off a series where they scored 6.
Yeah, not great.
Right.
Thursday's game is on the 4th of July. It's a day game, so it's always fun to watch, 4th of July day games. So that should be exciting.
And I guess the only thing I want to wrap up here and say too is I don't care how good a Cardinals pitcher performs, no standing ovations for them.
Absolutely not.
We don't do that here.
No, we don't.
Right. So
when Miles Michaelis pitches his no-hitter, throw stuff at him.
Jim's inciting a riot. All right. But yeah, anything else that we want to discuss here?
Nah, let's get out of here.
All right, let's do it. No game today, so we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucs.